the Evolution Security Podcast.
Let's talk about an awesome training opportunity. We are super pumped to be hosting John Murphy of FPF Training for his Street Encounters, Skills, and Tactics class, the 5th and 6th of November 2022, just outside Fort Bragg, North Carolina. This class will teach life-saving material to include Stop the Bleed Medical, Pre-Encounter Management, Pre-Assault, Proper Pepper Spray Use and Deployment, Essential Shooting Skills, Scenario-Based Decision-Making, Post-Fight, and more. For tickets, go to our show notes and find the class link, or go to John's website, fpftraining.com, and look for the class in his course calendar. Also, listen to John on our podcast, episode 66, to learn more about him and tap into his vast knowledge. Come join us for our EvoSec defensive pistol class just outside of Fort Bragg, North Carolina on June 11th, 2022. This is an 8-hour level 1 pistol course focusing on a fundamental defensive pistol platform from the holster, moving into dynamic shooting principles from concealment. Even though marksmanship is covered, it is a class that focuses on marksmanship and gun handling skills from a fighting perspective. You will leave this class having a solid shooting platform from extreme close distance out to typical fighting range. Most importantly, you'll leave understanding how to practice and become more capable of defending yourself and or a loved one in the event of a violent encounter. For tickets and more information, go to the Eventbrite link in the show notes or go to our website at evosec.org and find it on our upcoming events. Come train with us.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Aaron Davis Show, formerly known as the EvoSec Show. I have my co-host, Cliff Byerly, and we have a special guest. His name's Eric Davis. How you doing, Eric? Thanks for coming on the show.
Man, I'm doing great, man. It's good to be back on the show since I was pushed out this last episode.
Yeah. Again,
I really appreciate. I'm honored to be on the show.
Awesome.
With Cliff Byerly and Aaron Davis.
Yeah. I think that we're going in a better direction with just me running the helm and then Cliff as my co-host. So sorry, Eric. You just weren't cutting it. All right.
Good flanking maneuver, Aaron. You're starting to think like an infantryman, right?
Yeah, I flanked you guys. Welcome to the Evolution Security Podcast with the Tactical Twins, Aaron Davis and Eric Davis, who is the real co-host, and our awesome guest, Cliff Byerly, who we're honored to have on for a second time. He kicked our butts roughly 2 months ago, I think, and we've had him on to go over some of the goings on in that awesome class. We went away smarter than we walked in the door and had new friends and had a blast with Cliff. So, buddy, Eric, why don't you go ahead and bring Cliff in and let's start the conversation about that course.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, so essentially what we're going to do is we're going to do an after-action review of the Complete Combatant class. Sorry, tripping over my words. That Cliff hosted in Alabama, just outside Birmingham. And man, what an incredible course. Folks, if you are serious about self-defense, you got to seek out Cliff. He should be on the top of your list because he's going to make you, harder to kill for sure. And Cliff, Man, thank you so much for having us down there for that course. It was an incredible learning opportunity.
Oh, I appreciate it, guys. I'm glad you guys could make it down and we could finally meet in person and train.
Absolutely. It's not going to be the last time for sure.
Oh,
Well, Cliff, real quick, we don't have to go over the lengthy version because we're going to point everybody back to our previous show with you. But give us a quick bio, buddy.
Yeah, man, it's like career in the Marine Corps, career in law enforcement. Now I'm back doing federal LE stuff. That's my new gig, but that's pretty much it. 23 years in the Marine Corps, career in law enforcement, and now I'm on a federal contract.
And a legitimate badass, black belt in jiu-jitsu and awesome at Muay Thai and boxing and weapons-based environment stuff. Man, we're trying to emulate you at some point, Cliff.
That means you're going to be really old and broken.
Man, I feel it right now. It's just like last week. I don't know what I did because we weren't doing any leg attacks or anything. I guess it's been about a week and a half. And man, I woke up after jiu-jitsu, I think it was 2 Thursdays ago, and man, I'm like, what in the hell did I do to my knee? And I'm like grabbing onto the handrail as I'm walking down the stairs.
Yeah.
I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, this shouldn't be that way. I'm only 48.
Yeah, and the kind of fight wear, man, it gets their knee sleeves.
Yeah.
They help a lot.
Yeah, I've got something similar, and I hadn't been using them. I've been using them again, and lo and behold, I'm doing better. So
yeah.
With that said, Cliff, what we'd like to do is kind of just go over some of the highlights of the class and kind of pick your brain about your choice of some of the formulation of the curriculum. Yeah. But for the audience, it was really cool. The very open end of the class, Cliff says, "All right, everybody grab gloves." And the very first thing we do, we don't go into any technique. And Cliff says, "All right, we're going to do 5 3-minute rounds of boxing." And it was light boxing, actually quite light.
Yep.
Now, I understand from the way you explained it and also what we got out of it, but explain why you chose to do that first.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, real fights start standing up. But, second, really the reason behind it is males nowadays don't get punched in the face. So I'd rather experience that with friends than for the first time being, a real life incident. But one of the prime reasons behind just having you put gloves on and touch spar is I get to see your footwork. That's really what I'm paying attention to is your feet placement, your balance, your posture. And 2, 5 3-minute rounds will tell you really fast where your fitness level is at.
Yep. So. Absolutely. And Cliff, I recognize a lot about both boxing and clinch and jiu-jitsu. And what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of application in what you had us working on and what other instructors have us work on. But there's something to be said about just simply sparring and simply clinch work or pummeling or, rolling on the mats. That is just, it teaches you more than just the techniques itself. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, the thing of it is too, it also, like the way I set up my training days, it basically covers, striking, clinch, ground weapons, but the way it's broken down, it's designed, the way I design it is so you know how to go back and develop your own program. It's like from a self-coaching aspect. Like my grappling was solid, but my striking just wasn't there. So I need to get more time at striking or vice versa.
Well, as I'm sitting here and for folks seeing this on video, I did a ton of notes from the class, and it shapes a lot of what I'm doing right now.
Awesome.
And one of those obviously is that I've started doing striking again because of this class, and also because of for a long time. Yeah,
I'm just showing off.
So, being that I had a background in boxing and Thai boxing many years ago, honestly, Cliff, I got to the point where I was, do I really need to strike anymore? And lo and behold, though, in any scenarios or evos that I was in, my boxing or Thai boxing would come out, just because it was myelinated. But yeah, so I will tell you that is one real positive side about that, was that I've started working a lot of striking again. Aaron, what are your thoughts on that piece of the class?
Well, it was interesting to me because one of the keys that Cliff told us is that pay attention to what your opponent's doing. If he's striking, you want to be grappling. If he's grappling, there's a reason for it. You need to be striking. And I took Thai boxing lessons from you, not seriously, but for a few years. And for the average accountant guitar player, I think I've got some decent, at least strikes, maybe not great technique, but I've got a little bit of a feel for it. But it still came out. Cliff had to coach me quite a bit on a few things. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it because in a lot of the classes that we've taken, they're definitely jiu-jitsu and grappling, focused, but having some striking and, like you said, starting out sparring and getting a few punches in the face, it just helps everybody.
Yep.
It shapes you for sure. Well, and at that point, Cliff, we went into footwork after that. So you took this time to see how we were moving.
Yep.
And putting us through a decent amount of rounds, and there's a little huffing and puffing going on, and a few people going, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
Those are the best kind of classes.
Yeah.
You think that at the beginning, and then you go, man, this is a badass class.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our sponsor, Keepers Concealment, the original authority on appendix holsters and appendix carry, offering high-performance handgun training, specializing in concealed carry performance. Check out their flagship holster, the Keeper. This holster set the standard for quality, comfort, concealability, and retention. Keepers Concealment is also a proud affiliate of CCW Safe, the truly proven legal service membership company, offering dedicated legal defense. Heaven forbid you're forced to use lethal force. Use code KC10OFF and check them out at ccwsafe.com/keepers. To buy a holster, sign up for a class, inquire about hosting a course, or join CCW Safe, find it all at keepersconcealment.com and use Evo Twins at checkout for 10% off. Now back to the interview. One of the parts that really stuck out to me was the dirty boxing piece.
Yep. Well, I mean, the whole dirty boxing is knowing how to incorporate striking from inside of one arm's reach, basically, like how to strike appropriately from grappling distance. Right? Because if it's a real life encounter and somebody's trying to grapple with you, you should be, like I said in the class, you should be asking yourself, did I print somewhere? Are they trying to disarm me? Are they trying to hold me until somebody else, second party, third party, jumps in? So if you know how to create that space by using strikes or shut down their grappling to set up your grappling on your terms, that's beneficial. You have to prioritize, what can hurt me most. And if they're trying to grapple, and disarm you, you got to be able to shut that down. And consenting to grapple isn't always the best decision.
Well, and Cliff, an axiom that we all learned from the class, and kind of something that Aaron was alluding to, is that if you're in a grappling situation, you're trying to get your grappling going to a proper control, because you're either needing to deploy a tool or more importantly, likely to control them, that to use your striking to be able to open up your grappling, or vice versa.
Yep.
And that's an axiom that I really took away, and I've got on my notes. So that was a real cool learning point as well.
Yeah, people won't keep their hands down trying to grab for your equipment if they're getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
That's just not human behavior. People are going to protect their computer.
So. Yeah, absolutely. Very good portion of the class. So at that point, we're kind of breezing over audience members. This is a lot of work going on, even just up to this point in the class. But then we moved into the clinch work, which if folks are familiar with the ShivWorks type curriculum, Cliff's curriculum is very similar. However, one of the most important things to bring out about Cliff's content is it's 2 days, but there's no live fire in the course, and what that does for us is that gives Cliff more time to get into a lot of the details that you may not be able to get. And this isn't any fault to Craig Douglas in his ECQC. He's got to cover live fire. He's got to cover, the stand-up clinch, the managing unknown contacts, and all the jiu-jitsu stuff. So Cliff's able to cover quite a bit of additional details in all of it, including the clinch. And so, yeah, that was something that I really wanted to point out for folks that are interested in getting into any of your courses. Yeah. But you really took the time to correct any deficiencies in our clinch work, and I really appreciated that as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, it doesn't make any sense to, move on to different material if, you're doing stuff less desirable. I won't say wrong, but, it's like, because everything chains together. Excuse me.
Well, and one of the other aspects that I liked about your clinch work is even just teaching the kind of hips forward pressure. Your drill focused on the, changing levels and cutting the corner with the head. Yep. That was essentially the first kind of, if you will, opening drill. And man, I think that's one of the best ways to teach that initial hip position and head position.
Yeah, so I tell people, if you can see inside your opponent's ear, you have a dominant angle. So that's kind of the goal with that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was excellent stuff. And then I bring back up the point I made earlier. And then at some point, we're consensually drilling all this material, but then obviously you take it to where it's completely competitive. Both people are trying to win. And again, I think it's so important for people to seek out this type of training and in their own time. Again, clinch work, man, it teaches you a lot about yourself, your conditioning. It teaches you a lot about the grind. Yep. And again, it's these methodologies that it's not always about what it directly relates to self-defense, but also what it's teaching you mentally, having to grind through it. Your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like and the clinch work isn't like your traditional, Muay Thai, plum clinch. It's more of a, maybe a single collar tie or underhook bicep tie or wrist tie, because we're all in a weapons-based environment, and you don't know if it's a weapons-based environment when the encounter initially starts generally. But you have to assume it these days. So you want to control, their ability to get to their waistband and control the hips. So, but yeah, you definitely pummeling any kind of, pummeling, arm drags, anything that requires the movement of another body is exhausting.
Yeah. It teaches you a lot.
Yeah.
And that was, you just kind of hit it on the head. I mean, you emphasized making sure that you're getting to the flank or getting to the back, because those are the desired positions, right?
Yeah, the back, when it comes to like traditional street violence, to me, the back, if you can get to the back, that's the hierarchy of all positions.
Totally
That's
agree.
the safest way to break contact if you want to separate. But you also have so many options for control, so many options to introduce a higher level of force, be it blade or gun, without them interfering with the weapon.
Yeah, outstanding. That's also been my focus in my jiu-jitsu too. As I've gotten a little bit older, I'm like, okay, what can I focus on that will get me the most efficient way to deal with this, either if it be street oriented or just, kind of sports oriented, with my training partners. It's like, yeah, I started putting a lot of focus on taking the back and back positions. I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I'm getting better.
Yeah, it's not that hard. I mean, when it comes to grappling in general, it's like I was working with a brown belt yesterday, Tuesday, and basically, it's like I told him, if I can see the back, I can take the back. So that's kind of the simplistic way. So all you got to do is expose the back, and if you know how to create obstacles so they can't flatten out, you can take the back.
Let's talk about our sponsor, Origin. Pete Roberts was told you could not make jiu-jitsu gis in the U.S. Well, Pete and his team have proven the naysayers wrong by producing the best jiu-jitsu gis on the market. I, for one, love my Path gi. It is lightweight, yet strong and super comfortable, with an innovative technical fiber weave that is also IBJJF legal. The Wave logo is legit. It has woven belts that blend between white, blue, purple, brown, and black, hence the name The Path. They also produce jeans, hoodies, handmade leather boots, and Jocko fuel supplements that help us recover from hard workouts, force on force classes, and simply make us feel better and more energized through the day. I just finished a hard workout in my garage gym and rewarded myself with a delicious mint chocolate milk protein shake and coconut milk. Man, it's like dessert. If you're looking for any Origin products, please go to our show notes and click on the affiliate link, or look for the icons in our blog section of our website at evosec.org. It helps us keep this podcast free and keeps the lights on. If you get something out of this show and you feel like helping us out, use EvoSec10 for 10% off at checkout. Now, back to the interview. You reminded me of something that you also, I had this in my notes later, but I'll bring it up now. Speaking of taking it back, one of the most awesome points that I learned from you is the Saturday night ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've been playing with that, and I mean, a lot of this stuff, obviously, I've added to my game, but I think that's important for folks to understand too. Is that, and this is how you pointed it out. It's like, hey, if you take the hooks and they're belly down your legs are pinned, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're giving up mobility for hooks. I prefer wrestling rides over hooks.
Yeah, that was a big eye opener for me as well.
That's
Go
funny.
ahead,
I
Aaron.
was watching that clip today, kind of refreshing my memory, and it was about, you were talking about staying away from the grapevines.
Yeah.
And then how that grapevine was intended to break someone's posture when, or on their pushing leg or bridging leg,
Yeah.
so you can cross face them back down on the back. And more of a, I think you said it was more of a wrestling technique to keep someone pinned.
The whole grapevining thing from Mount is just it's a pinning ride. But jiu-jitsu guys that don't know how to wrestle for the most part, they give up mobility. But I mean, it's so easy to untangle those grapevines. So, it's like I prefer like prayer feet. And then when they go to bridge, that's when I grapevine the bridge leg basically and take it out of play.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You know?
I'm remembering that now. I need to make sure I keep that in my notes.
And if you,
Aaron, did you have anything else to add on the clinch work? And then I'll kind of hit on what we did as the Evo after the clinch work.
Well, when it comes to, I'll be flat honest. Clinch is not my strong point, and I kept feeling a little out of sorts on the clinch stuff. I can pummel a little bit, but it's something I'm going to need some coaching on for sure. Yep. I need to refresh my memory, especially going through these notes. And I will say this to any listeners that take Cliff's class, anybody else that offers similar great content that is this, controlling an individual and possibly a weapons-based environment. Take your camera, take your phone and video every demo, and then go back and transcribe some notes, because I didn't video any of the clinch stuff. But I videoed all the ground stuff, and man, I've taken some really good notes from that. But I highly suggest that, because I started going back and forth trying to take notes, write notes as you were. And I think at one point you were like, Aaron, where are you going? Taking notes, man.
Well, that just, right there though, your comment though, that just showed, told me Saturday was a successful day, because clinch is something you need to focus on a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how, my 1 day and 2 day classes are set up. So what you need to focus your training on a little bit, how to self-coach, how to develop your own program.
Yeah. I'd like to take this material again sometime soon, and then, for one thing, film the demos, and then really work it and get some coaching from you on it.
Yeah. Well, I would have taken more film, but Cliff was beating up on me the whole time during the demos.
Dude, no joke. And do you guys remember a couple of times?
Aaron paid me for that. He didn't tell you.
There were a few times, Eric, you were out of the room and Cliff grabs me and starts doing something. No, dude, this is the wrong twin. I'm not to do demos on. No. I started tapping before he even started the demo, man. To get ahead of that.
Yeah, and I do remember one time that I kept seeing you either go grab your notes or go grab something outside, and I came out there. Aaron, do you remember me going, "Hey, man"?
I learned my lesson. Cliff got onto me a couple times, and yeah, that's good.
Aaron, I'll move into the Evo discussion here just 1 second, Aaron. But bro, when we're in at KR training for the advanced instructor development class, man, we'll spend some time in a hotel, bro. I'll help square you away on the clinch stuff, man.
Awesome.
We'll get you.
Sounds good. And on that note, I hope he puts you and I together so I can coach your ass off.
I hope he does too.
To you.
So Cliff, there's one detail again, because I was a part of the demos quite a bit. So there was one part of the Evos and one of the drills that I still have a little bit hazy, and I wanted to correct it on the air. The good guy, bad guy drill that we did from standing, we started with both individuals had their hands up. Now, the good guy was trying to keep the bad guy from deploying a weapon. That was the main goal, right? Yep. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I had that correct in my notes. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't an equal initiative.
No, because what you see a lot of times, especially like if you watch YouTube videos of real violence, bad guys, once they start losing, they'll create that space to get to their weapon system. So, once you make contact, it's not always a good idea to break contact. So that's kind of the focus of that first scenario we did.
Very, very good description, Cliff. And so I want to describe that I think this is very important for folks to understand. And as I've progressed in some of this, the value of kind of play drills, if I'm using a term correctly, it's that kind of 30%. You're not trying to win, you're not trying to lose.
Yep.
But that's what you had us do at the beginning, and we weren't using UTM or Sims at that point. We're just using blue guns. But you really emphasized, hey, this first piece we're just kind of we're light contact, light resistance and kind of plain. And you had us do that throughout all the drills. But then when we went to the final Evo, then it was competitive, and then it was all out.
And I still tell people, like, you shouldn't go harder than 70%.
Yep.
70% is a solid competitive pace, but it's also at a pace where you can recognize the opportunities that your opponent's providing for you.
I'm real glad you mentioned that 70%, because I wrote that in my notes that let me get to it. So you essentially said, hard training should be at about 70%, not 100% was what you said.
Yep. I mean, that applies in everything. I mean, you'll see people, in gunfights missing with a whole magazine because they're shooting out of fear, which causes them to shoot faster than their skill level. It's the same thing with empty hands. You can go faster than your skill level dictates, if that makes sense. That's why I say 70%. It's still a good competitive pace, but when you're trying to learn a new skill, you can still see the opportunities that your opponent's providing for you.
Well, Cliff, I'd like to comment and double down on this discussion about the 70%. I think that some gyms would do well to make sure that they're emphasizing that before every drill. And what I mean by that is emphasize what the level of pressure should be.
Yep.
And again, keep reminding folks that, man, this isn't 100%. And I kind of point towards, there's been a few times recently on the mats where I'll roll with folks that I haven't rolled with before or infrequently, and it's like I'm still trying to figure out why in an open school setting why some folks feel like they got to go 100%. I just don't get it.
I wanted to ask that too, man. I know you just asked it, Eric, but that was on my mind. How hard is it for guys to understand that?
Well, the thing of it is like every time I roll with a lower belt, and I always ask them, "What are you working on?" And it's amazing 9 times out of 10, their response is, I just want to roll. Okay, well, you're always going to suck, because practice has to be deliberate practice. Mm-hmm. So, if you train twice a week and those 2 days a week, you focus on a different thing that you need to improve on, this having your partner, hey, let me start down, you start mounted. And maybe the second day it's like, hey, start on my back. That's 8 things a month that you improved on, 96 things a year that you fixed. But everybody, I just want to roll. It's not deliberate practice. And, they end up getting injured or they get their blue belt and quit.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Aaron. On that note, let's see here. On deliberate practice, before I practice guitar, I write a plan
for goals.
What I'm doing. And then so that I make sure that I'm working on something new, and then whatever I worked on that's new, I make sure I write that down. Because I play in any given month, I'm playing 200 major parts, right? So I'll forget what I'm working on, and then kind of get bored and just roll, And having the plan, I'll refer back to that, and it's like, oh yeah, man, that was a really cool thing to work on. And
I got training journals going back till I was like 9 years old, and I'm 55 here in a couple weeks. Awesome. Nowadays I have an app on my phone called BJJ Logbook that I documented everything still.
Cool.
I still go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, and every time I have something I'm going to work on. It'd be a takedown. It'd be something.
Well, that's awesome mentorship advice for our audience members out there that maybe they're a little newer in this path, or maybe they're stagnant. I think that's awesome, an awesome tip. And I will say I've got a group of training partners that think that way. Yep. And it's probably why my training has been going so well. But I still run into, and they're good buddies too, that still prefer that, hey, let's just roll, and that's cool. But we commend people to look at that deliberate practice for sure.
Yeah, there's a time to just roll. If you're training for a competition or something, but even when I was competing, competition, I was training my game plan. I wasn't just rolling. It's like, hey, this is what I'm gonna try to set up as my first takedown. If that doesn't work, it's gonna flow from here to here to here, and then when it goes to the ground, this is the ground game plan. So even in competition, I've always been about deliberate practice.
So let me ask you this, because I'm gonna confess here. A lot of the time, I am that guy that says, I just want to roll.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because in the system that I'm in, dude, I am probably a few months away from blue belt.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've come at it slow because I have so much music going on and shooting, etc. But so I've been doing it for a while, but our system at my school, you don't really start rolling until you get to my level.
Yeah.
So I'm still inexperienced at rolling, but so that begs the question for someone like me that needs to think in that deliberate practice mode. Do I start in kind of low concepts, like, just simply trying to escape from guard, starting from, what do you suggest?
I would pick, like I said, if you go twice a week, each day you'd go, I would pick something that you feel least comfortable. Like, hey, today I'm just going to focus on escaping the mount, and then maybe the second day you go, like, I'm just going to focus on defending, with somebody on my back, escaping from a back ride, or whatever, that you feel like you need. It's like my white belts and when I was training in Texas, it's like as a white belt, I don't even want you looking for submissions. I want you to learn how to feel where your opponent's weight is and learn how to move. Feel and move. And then, once you get your blue belt, then you should get really good at defending stuff. Then purple belt, you can really start chaining your attacks together. That way, when you do get to your brown belt, you have a complete game. But
Yeah,
I know people who's made it all the way to black belt and they couldn't teach one single wrestling takedown. They just sit on their ass.
That's a travesty.
Yeah. It's like, how do you make it all the way to black belt and you have zero takedown game?
That's one of the things that I love about my gym, Cliff, is that in the Daybreakers 06 class, we always warm up with takedowns.
Yep.
It starts out light and we get a little bit more committed. And then at least once or twice a week in no-gi class, you will be starting standing and takedowns. Yeah, that's one aspect I love. Shout out to Lee King and his program that he's running at Team Rock Southern Pines. So that's a very, very good point, Cliff. Well, I will say this because I wanted to circle back to what you said. I'm knocking on purple at some point, and I've always had some form of a plan. Because I keep a steady notebook. I mean, I've got like 3 notebooks that I'm running jiu-jitsu notes in because of the way that I program my notes. But one of my coaches who runs the morning class, Adam Lamp, shout out to him. Every time I roll with him, he's like, "Hey, what are you working on, brother?" And so it really made me start thinking, okay, every time that I'm rolling, I'm absolutely going to have a plan. So I keyed in on what you said, Cliff. And it's so cool when you got good training partners like that make you think better.
Yep. And it's like, it's funny because, it's like, we got quite a few black belts at the school I train at, and it's just like, and the owner, Scott, tells the younger belts, like, you should take advantage of the black belts here, and it's like, I tell them, like, if I don't make you better down the road, I'm not going to get better. Yeah. It's like, I'm only as good as my training partners. So it doesn't do me any good to go in there and just smash a lower belt so I feel good about myself. But you see that a lot.
Yeah. Well, you do.
I that I am new to rolling. I was pleasantly encouraged when I roll with a couple of our higher ranking members and including the instructors. And he said, "Man, Aaron, I've never rolled with you." He goes, "Man, you're so controlled and finessed and etc." And I think it's because I may not be great at jits, but I've been training in a lot of stuff that I know where the learning occurs, and it's not going full out.
Yeah.
And so but it's also, that's kind of circling back to your 70% comment, and Eric, it also kind of makes me think of some of the matchups that we had in the class. Is that kind of where you were going to go with this?
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron. I'll let you hit on it.
Well, okay. So this was kind of a funny one for me, and it was some, because still some of those guys weren't listening either about how much pressure they should use. One guy, he was super cool, but dude, he started treating my head like a speed bag.
Yeah.
and I was like, after I took about, I don't know, man, 8 shots, I was like, dude, I'm done with this. I was raring up a right cross about to nail his ass. And at least I was going to try, because it's like, dude,
Yeah.
this is training. We're not in a street fight. But I don't know if you remember that or not, Cliff.
Oh, I do.
Because when I was rearing up, I don't know if you noticed me getting pissed or not, because you stopped it right before I could line that up.
Yeah, and that's why I stopped it. It's like, training should hurt, it shouldn't injure. And when you got people that don't know how to train, I just call it.
Well, and Cliff, this is further. Actually, it was one of the last Evos, which we'll hit on again here in a second. But I have it on video. You were real good, like during my. I don't think myself and the several partners that I had that we were bad about going hard, but you were still good about saying speed, no follow through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was solid, and I remember hearing you say that, during the Evos.
Yeah,
and
because how many shots can your C-spine take of your head going back and forth?
Yeah.
So
dude, that's what I felt like in that situation. Yeah. I could feel it.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like a big baby, but that was just something I'll never forget. So.
Well, and that's just something as trainers that you have to pay attention to, and just call out a roll or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just call it out. Call index, right?
Yeah.
Well, Eric, if you have a story, go ahead and go into it, because I've got another one in mind too.
No, Aaron, go ahead, because I was just going to kind of close out the clinch portion and move into the grounded stuff. So go ahead.
This is about grounded, so we'll talk about that later.
So I'm just going to close out real quick, so folks, if they're curious, okay, what are we talking about in the clinch? And so Cliff covered very heavily a very Greco-based, but still considering the weapons-based environment. Your underhooks, your overhooks, your arm drags, wrist ties. It's to use the phrase, it's a hook and tie game, right? Mm-hmm. Controlling the hands in a weapons-based environment is the most important, because that's where the tools come out. We got to control that and control the hips, right, Cliff?
Yep.
And so you gave us some awesome escapes to the back and tie-ups that gave us the opportunity to deploy a weapon in the evolutions. Just outstanding curriculum and the way that you coached that, for sure.
I appreciate it. It's like I said earlier, man. It's really just show you how to develop a game. So when you do get lucky enough to go train with Craig and do an ECQC, you kind of have a game going into it.
Yeah, people would do very well to be in your class before an ECQC, but I must add that if they have done an ECQC and they want to expand their class, they must get in your class as well.
Agree 100%. That's what I was thinking, Eric.
Yeah, so Aaron, let's move on to the grounded stuff. If you want, man, we'll jump into your story, and then I can hit on some of the details.
It was one of my, I don't know, I guess we're simply calling them Evos, but it was about one of those that was fun. But you go ahead, and if you want to start going over some of the techniques.
Well, one of the things that stuck out to me, and I think this is a crucial aspect of, let's just call it you're grounded, right? Because we're not just looking to go to the ground, right, Cliff?
No, you ended up there usually not by choice.
Yep.
Whatever happened, you got sucker punched, slipped on a banana peel, whatever. You ended up on the ground with no forethought of, going to the ground. Now you have to, unlike most people, you're just not going to get up. So it's really how to develop a plan to not lose on the ground and eventually get to a more dominant position.
Yeah, it was definitely gravitated that way, and I will digress a second because I kind of breezed over that piece. You spoke about the sucker punch. I think any curriculum worth its salt includes dealing with the sucker punch, and Cliff absolutely spent quite a bit of time with us dealing with the sucker punch and having the default position
Yeah.
that we used in that segment too. Now, if for some reason you did get sucker punched, then we went into the grounded piece, and one of the parts that stuck out to me is one of your recommended methods of dealing with a circling opponent was using small shrimp and
Yep.
just small shrimp and movement in that fashion than just always using the leg piston method, which I still think is absolutely valid.
Yeah.
But man, that
I love that shrimping movement, man. That was a big thing that I took away for sure.
that was huge, and I've been every chance I think about it, I just work that thinking about the circling opponent, or when I'm training with partners that were working
Yep.
anything like that. That was money.
Yeah, I
time.
mean that's my go-to. I mean, I teach the the base leg, I guess, and the drive leg, but the thing I don't like about that way to keep in front of your opponent is, you kind of have a leg or a foot up in the air, and it gives them something to grab onto. So I prefer just small hip escapes, and you still achieve the same goal.
Yeah, small hip escapes, small shrimping. It was money, and you had us go do it out on the gravel, which gave it a perspective that was really cool.
Well, yeah, I don't know who brought that up. Like, I don't think this would work in the gravel. Like, oh, okay, let's go try it out.
Oh, did one of the guys say that?
Yeah.
I didn't
And it
hear
worked
that.
great.
Yeah,
It
actually works.
great.
It actually works better.
I think so.
It did. And Cliff goes, let's go outside. I didn't know that somebody said that, which is fine. People are inquisitive, and that's part of the process. Yeah, that was money for sure. And then at that point, which is again another crucial aspect of being grounded, is how do you deal with a person over you? And you gave us some solid fundamental sweeps, like the tripod, the sickle, and the double knee sweep.
Yeah, the double ankle sweep. Yeah,
double ankle. Yep, excuse me. And we worked that quite a bit. And again, it's funny how often some of us have been doing those sweeps over the years, and it's like, and I learned several aspects of those that really cleaned a lot of that up for me as well. Aaron, you got any thoughts so far?
No, I don't. You go ahead and keep going. Oh, no, I do. One of the things I know I might make a skip around here, but one of the things that stood out to me was simply your rear naked choke grip on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Man, that I've been using that, and people can't get out of that, and they think, what the heck you doing, man?
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people think, from a rear naked choke standpoint, like it's just, I don't know, kind of like squeezing with the arm. But if you move your elbow down towards your hip, it makes it so much tighter.
Locks it in, man.
Yeah.
And also you had us starting that with an arm wrap, a standard arm wrap, and then starting the rear naked grip. That was outstanding. I've definitely been using that and using it for setting up sweeps for sure.
I mean, a rear naked choke is just clinching that grip.
Yep.
Or set of levers, I guess, around a circular body part. Why not use it around somebody's shoulder or bicep?
Yeah.
I love that, and I showed it to my wife, and she said not to show anybody at the school.
Don't give that secret up. Is that what Becky was
Oh
saying?
yeah, that's exactly what she said.
Awesome.
That's a good thinker. Love Becky, man. Tell her hello, by the way.
Oh, she's probably my biggest teacher, man. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Cliff, you gave us a very good improved Oompa. Really, really emphasizing the bridge first and then the full rollover. Not letting the hips go back to the ground. During that process.
That's like one of the biggest errors, common mistakes you see people making when they're trying to get out from the mount.
Yeah, that was an awesome detail, and folks should try to add that to their game for sure. And then we moved into, man, you gave us some solid guard recovery or retention. I mean, I would say that's the first time in a class like this that the instructor provided some guard retention stuff. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's once again, it's another survival position, and it's like, it's one of those deals where, it's like Cecil Birch said, you don't have to win, just don't lose.
Yeah.
So,
that's one of my favorite quotes from Cecil.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those deals where, it's like if you know how to set up like the stockade position from guard, it's a really good rest position, and then that sets up sweeps and stuff like that.
I know one thing that came to mind, and as I was watching one of the clips today, and it was maintaining the mount, but you mentioned that the mount and the side control really should be transitional in nature. Now, could you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, in a unknown threat environment, and this really comes from working South Central LA in the projects, but it's like the mount and side control are two very dangerous positions because it's so easy for the bottom guy just to wrap and hold you till a second or third party jumps in and starts treating your head like a seal pup in Alaska. So,
yeah, good.
They have to be transitory. Like from side control and mount, I usually always transition to a scarf, and then ended up taking them to their stomach, and then go to a back ride or setting up some kind of choke from there.
So yeah, the key is that it's not that you're maintaining. It's not that you're not wanting to maintain control. It's wanting to maintain control where they can't hold you in any way.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, you're just taking their ability to wrap you up and basically and you see it. I mean, even the Bellator, UFC, you'll see the guy getting pummeled from the mount, and he just bucks and hugs the guy, until the referee gets bored and stands him up.
Well, and Cliff, when you're talking about a scarf hold, and I think I remember you describing this or having us work some of it, frankly, but just to refresh my memory, you're talking kind of like a gift wrap position.
Yes.
Yep. Like going into a technical mount and then forcing a back take.
Yeah.
Man, that's huge.
So guys, is that some sort of twisting arm control kind of thing?
So basically I'm bringing this arm across here, then I go under the head and grab the wrist, and I can push and drive you belly down.
Yeah. Okay, and you're calling that a scarf.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could call it a gift wrap, but
gift wrap scarf. And what did you call it? A scarf? Something.
I think he just simply called it a scarf hold. I think is what you were talking about.
Scarf hold. Yeah,
I'm literally just curious from the different terminologies.
Yeah, there's a ton of. I'm sure there's 10 other things people call it, but I just know it as a scarf from wrestling. And jiu-jitsu, I think they call it more of a gift wrap type position.
Yeah, and I mean, and you consider the fact that if for some reason you've got to deploy a tool from the mount. For some reason, you're in that position, and obviously as a right-handed shooter, I'm gonna be looking to either use my chest or my hand to pass that gift wrap over, and grab him with my left hand, turning him over. So if I need to access that tool, I've got complete control of him at that point.
The thing about that too is, like, even being a right-handed shooter, if my right hand is controlling their left wrist, as soon as I get them basically on a side, I usually transition to a knee ride on that top shoulder, which keeps everything away from me so I can transition. And
that's exactly what I was, I guess maybe instinctively thinking. It's like, once you get them even on their side,
transition to a knee ride.
And you've got the timing for that draw for some sort of index shooting ready to go.
I mean, once again, you're at the hierarchical positions with the back take, so it's going to be really hard with you driving pressure into their shoulders to turn into you, even if they have a weapon.
And even if you just held it, we know, even if you could only keep that hold for 2-3 seconds, you've got bullets in meaty bits.
Yep, for sure. If you just got a blade, that scarf really opens up, the heart region and stuff like that. So you got some really good stabby areas too with it.
My next opportunity with some of my training partners in dealing with the weapons-based environment, that's going to be my choice drill, is working exactly what we're talking about.
Yep.
So it's going to be difficult to go over every single detail because we're getting close to an hour now,
and we got other stuff to chat about.
Yeah, we got a few other things to talk about, but I want to talk about two really good drills for the grounded stuff that I'm fascinated by any drill that revolves around kind of this play, and that kind of that 30 percentile range. And so I'll just talk about two of the drills you had us do grounded, and one of them was where another good guy, bad guy, to where the good guy is simply, you start on knees, not because we desire starting on our knees. It's because that's the way the drill starts, in that environment. and essentially the good guy is simply trying to keep the bad guy from taking your weapon, but you're doing basic rolling. Fairly light rolling, and you're just trying to keep the other person from taking your tools.
Yep.
But you also added a second person, and it wasn't anything crazy. But if the good guy got preoccupied, you just asked the second person to go up and just tap him on the shoulder.
Yep.
And the cool part about that drill, and this is very similar to it's different, but similar to a drill that Cecil had us do, is it's a low key version of maintaining awareness of a second opponent, and I thought that was brilliant.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals where you have to assume, especially if it's a true criminal predator, that there's a second person probably involved.
Oh yeah.
And if it's not, then it's even better. But you can't get so target focused that you don't see that person coming up to get involved.
And man, that is so difficult to do.
Yep.
Until you until you get in that drill, you don't realize how hard that is to do.
It is.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'll do it like even like when I was in Texas, like with a group there, it's like we would do it, every couple of weeks, just regular rolling. It's like I would just walk around the mat and I would drop a gun, drop a knife, and then one of them gets to use it basically. So
Yeah, really excellent drill. And the other drill, again, in that same kind of modus operandi, was you essentially had a start in a 50-50 position, essentially knee to knee, reverse from each other. You're looking at each other,
Yep.
and one person has a pistol, and the other person grabs the muzzle,
Yep.
and then go. Right.
Yep.
And again, the intention was not to go hard at all, but just, roll and try to figure out how to either strip or retain the pistol.
Yep.
And you said something towards the end after we had went through several of them. It is you said, well, see, essentially in that drill, everybody starts figuring out how to retain and or strip the pistol.
Yep.
It just completely facilitated the learning process.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it doesn't take there's no need to go take an 8-hour or a 2-day weapon retention class. It's kind of self-explanatory. I mean, you guys should figure that out on your own.
But at the same time, absolutely, I agree, Cliff. But you also were laying that foundation through the entire course,
Yep.
right? Would you agree?
Oh,
You're laying the foundation to, once you place that drill, which was towards the latter end of the class, you've already been doing clinch work.
Yep.
You've already been doing grounded work. That was one of my favorite takeaway drills from.
Well, the other thing behind that type of drill, and I'll do it inside of cars too, is like it shows you the importance of earning the draw and shot.
Mm-hmm.
If you introduce that weapon out of fear and you haven't earned the draw and shot, I mean, you're going to end up potentially fighting over that weapon, and that's not a good thing. So, get control before tools.
Roger. Absolutely. You drove that home for sure. And there were times where we made mistakes doing that too. Yep. And you were real good about correcting that. And it is what happens. You end up fighting over the tool.
Yep. See it all the time.
So with that, and again, I want to make sure there was a lot more going on than what we're describing here. We're just kind of hitting some highlights. And we had a couple of final evos, and I have to admit, and Aaron, I'll let you chime in on this. My favorite evo was the confined space drill.
Oh yeah,
out in the hallway.
Yeah.
And the main reason is because number one, I've not done a confined space drill like that before, and number two was the exponential learning experience that takes place in that confined space.
Yeah.
And just to give a description for the audience out there, it is essentially what Cliff had us do is if you're the good guy, you face the wall. And let me digress a second. We're in a hallway, and there's one section's sectioned off or cordoned off with some mats. And then, of course, the other side is maintained by either participants and or a Cliff, and you're stuck in this area. And the good guy starts with his face, facing the wall, and the bad guy has his hands on your shoulder, and Cliff allowed the bad guy to initiate basically any method he wanted to, either a strike or a takedown or what have you. And then you gotta try to deal with the problem. You got to correct the situation of you being in a deficit. And I think that's the important aspect of it.
Yep.
Is you forced us into a deficit, and
well, yeah,
and that was very enlightening.
It's one of those deals, like everybody talks about awareness, but hey, we all know life gets involved. I mean, there's times where,
Absolutely.
heck, Monday I almost drove into a school bus because I was trying to not spill my coffee. I mean, it's like, damn, how did I not see a school bus? But anyway, but it's like you're getting into your car and then all of a sudden somebody's at your door, type deal. So that's kind of the premise behind that, and taking away space. It changes everything. Even your draw stroke changes.
Well, and just for full understanding, of course, Cliff had both of us. And when I say both of us, each set of Evos were two individuals, both having UTM or Simunitions pistols, and also whatever drone knives they had or whatever they had on them, and so everything was fair game at that point. And one of the things that really stuck out to me is that in the two Evos that I did, and I feel horrible. I'm honestly forgetting my opponent's name, and that I've got him in notes. So forgive me. I'll correct it and put it in the show notes. But our first go together, we were almost completely purely grappling.
Yep.
And then the second time, both of us opened up our strikes, and it really opened up, frankly, what both of us were working, and that was a big eye opener to me, and frankly, one of the biggest reasons why I came back home and said, "Yeah, my striking is coming back into my training cycle."
Yeah, striking is a great way to set up your grappling on your terms.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and Aaron had a damn good Evo in that too.
Yeah, he did.
That was a scramble.
Yeah.
Well, and so that was one of the things I wanted to comment about, is that, again, one of the great things that Cliff does in his teaching is to put you in these confined spaces when it's available in his training, wherever he's having his training, and having that wall was awesome.
Yep.
And in one of my matchups, the guy actually was new to all this, but he was tenacious, and he almost immediately did a typical leg sweep and took me down, and he was controlling me for quite a while. And then all of a sudden, it occurred to me, there's a damn wall right there. and I put my feet on that wall, and I turned him over on his back and was able to thumb pectoral index and finish it. But the key is that it was funny. I know I'm in this training environment where we're supposed to be fighting in this confined space, and literally in my mind I thought, damn, there's a wall there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a fun ending to that one.
Yeah, I mean, you got to understand the environment you're operating in and use it to a tactical advantage.
Well, and Aaron, I'd like to comment, and yes, your opponent, man, he was a transformed individual during that class for sure.
Yeah, I love it.
And I'll tell you, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because how awesome he performed throughout the course. But before the first Evo, he was close to hyperventilating.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I went up to him and said, "Hey, bro, you got this. Just think about, you got this. No big deal." And of course, he chilled out. But the only reason I brought that is not at all. I really think it's more to point out how that experience is so real.
Yeah.
And so extraordinarily teaching in that method that I just wanted to bring that up because he was he was definitely feeling it because he had never been. That was the first time that the UTM marking cartridges came out. But man, he sucked it up and did awesome. And
by the end of the second day, he was crushing it.
Yeah, that's what's one of the coolest aspects of these types of courses. And if individuals are out there on the fence about doing courses like this, you'll be a better person by doing it. And it's awesome experience.
It's not hyperbole to say that these weekends will change your life. They'll change your training focus, and they'll make you realize how much tougher you are than you think you are.
Yeah.
Just showing up to one of these events. Now, they are not the agoge, you're not going to get the crap beat out of you. You may get some bruises and you may have a guy like me, go a little bit too rough on some punches, but man, it all makes you better.
Yep.
And I want to stress enough. I want to really stress that people have to get to Cliff's classes.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Cliff isn't on here. He didn't slip any money under the table. We simply loved his class, loved his instruction, and he really needs to teach more people. More people need to seek him out. So
we're going to do our best to make sure that people learn as much. I mean, we don't have a huge audience, but we got a little bit of a throw. We're going to keep driving it home. People need to seek Cliff out, and this was a nut, just like ECQC, just like Cecil's coursework. Cliff's Complete Combatant is another life-changing class. So we really appreciate you inviting us out to that, Cliff.
No, it was great. You guys could make it, man. It was awesome.
Well, man, I think we should probably segue into a little bit of firearms discussion because we're getting long in the tooth. Aaron, you want to start this discussion?
Yeah. So Cliff, that when we showed up, you kind of had a big smile on your face, talking about how your new gig, that you get some ammo and you get to shoot for a living these days, and help other people become better shooters. And so can you explain that? You're an instructor at the federal level, and we'll kind of keep it, tied down to that. It sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
I want to get in on that gig, but I don't have the credentials for that.
Yeah. I got contracted as a firearms instructor at a federal LE level, and it's unlimited rounds. So if I'm not shooting, I think last week was kind of a low round count week. I probably shot about 900 rounds last week, but there's been weeks here where I've gone through almost 4,000 rounds in a week. So
what you're telling our audience is you get ammo provided by your employer, your contract contractor, and you get to shoot and get paid for it.
Oh yeah, it's the best job I ever had. It's like if I'm not actually physically shooting, I'm teaching other LEs to how to run a gun, rifle, pistol, shotgun.
So, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll be honest. I pictured it just as pistol, but you're going through the gamut. That's awesome.
Yeah. Today I was with a certain group, and we just spent 4 hours working rifle to pistol transitions.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a good day.
We're a little jealous.
Oh, that's what I said, man. I want to get in on that gig, but I'll never have the credentials, so I'll just sit back and dream.
Yeah.
We'll just keep being training junkies.
Hey man, it's like now I'm getting paid to train, so I can't complain. I'm surrounded by some national caliber dudes. So
Yeah, you have a couple of GMs, grandmasters in
there's a
USPSA,
few of them
right?
here. The one of them
Awesome.
here. He just finished. He just shot nationals, or he finished like 5th or something like that in the nation. Yeah, he's doing like 2-second bill drills at 25 yards, clean.
That's like freaking cyborg stuff,
I
man.
was going to say, is he an alien or something?
Oh my God, yeah, it's amazing watching that dude shoot. So,
and you get to rub elbows with them, and you're no slouch yourself, but you
well,
get
I mean,
that opportunity to. Yep.
I tell you what, though, getting on a line and training with those guys just shows you like the level of what's capable of, basically. I mean, they're on a different planet. So
that's kind of like when the person, I don't even, forgive me, I don't remember who did it, but the first person to do the 4-minute mile, which was thought to be impossible, and then now that's kind of a basic thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's kind of slow now.
We can talk about some standards I was looking at today here in a little bit, but I think I shared a picture of this badass pistol that you had.
Yeah, my Staccato.
Oh man,
love it.
I left genuinely mad at you for letting me fondle that thing, because then I went on their website and went, okay, I'll probably get another pistol than that. But that thing was a freaking Ferrari.
That thing shoots way better than I do.
Just dry firing it was heavenly, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful gun. Yeah, I'm looking at, because some of the people I work with now, they're SIG 320 folks. So I'm looking at, I never owned outside of a P226. I haven't owned none of the new SIGs. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
So, and forgive me to digress here, but do you ever teach with your Staccato, or do you teach with the issued weapons?
No, I run whatever the students have.
I remember you saying that at dinner.
Yeah, we were I remember a
badass hamburger.
I mean, we're starting to see more, red dot pistols at the federal LE level. In a couple of years, it'll be across the board.
What's the percentage of those of your students doing dots?
God, it's actually quite a few. There's probably at least 3 or 4 agencies that are running dots right now. So, and it's going to be across the board probably in the next few years. Right now, the ones that don't have dots are testing dots. So they just haven't figured out which one they want.
Well, Cliff, one thing that I really take away from our discussion when we talked about this at dinner that evening, and what we're talking about now, is it really pumps me up that we got gentlemen like you and your partners teaching federal law enforcement like that, because that just, man, it makes me real proud that we got guys like you hooking up and teaching, our law enforcement, man. That's badass.
Yeah, I feel pretty blessed to get to do what I do. So, but yeah, it definitely, you don't have to twist my arm to run a gun every day. So,
yeah, and I have to bring, this is a major digression. What was that hamburger place? Do you guys remember the name of that place? I don't even remember right now. It doesn't matter.
Oh, that place was amazing, though.
that was good.
The customer service was outstanding.
Oh yeah, superb.
Yeah,
that's facetious, right?
No, I mean the lady that met us at the door.
Oh, see, I can't. Forgive me. Then
I think you went straight to the bathroom and washed your hands when the the lady, it seems like the owner of the place came up and greeted Eric and I.
I agree, Cliff. She was incredible,
Yeah.
and her staff was the same way.
Yep.
Yeah, I was impressed with. We'll have to remember, rack our brains, or maybe look it up and put it in the show notes to make sure that if anybody's around the Birmingham area that they go patronize that place, because the owner, she was outstanding. It was good food, and we had been abstaining from eating crappy, and that was a treat because we had busted our butt that day. So that was good stuff.
Yep.
Well, Eric, go ahead, Eric. I guess since we're on this subject of shooting, Eric, our buddy Greg, you know who I'm talking about. He and I were texting back and forth a little bit today, and he had gotten a new Tenacor holster and a Tenacor Abdo.
Nice.
Magazine pouch, and he was excited to tell me about it, and asked me a few questions about a couple of adjustments, etc. But then we talked about getting together next week, and he said, "Hey, let's go ahead and try out the Modern Samurai Scott Jelinski's black belt standards." And I got on there. So let's go through this, guys. And then I think you have a comment to make on this, Cliff, right?
Yeah.
We'll call him Jedi right now. That his black belt standards, let's just say, all are from concealment. Okay. Now let's see this. And these particular standards need to be shot in succession, 1 through 4. The first drill it's called the 3 and 2 drill. It's at 3 yards, 3 shots to the A zone, and then transition to 2 rounds on a 3x5 card. Par time 2 seconds. Okay. And then the next one is a 1-shot drill at 7 yards, A zone, 1 second par time.
Sub-second. Yep.
And then a third is a bill drill at 7 yards, 6 shots, A zone, of course, 2 seconds. And then the fourth one is a single shot at 25 yards, and the par time is 1.5 seconds.
Legit.
I'll tell you right now, my draw, I'll just flat out honest say, I think my draw is okay, but it's only at 1.36 or so. And so I'm
then doing 1.5 at 25. That's impressive.
If I was rushing to do that, I could probably do it in 4 seconds, man. but I'm going to go out there and try these standards, and hopefully because he's also got the blue belt, purple belt, and brown belt standards, so you can see where you are. I'm hoping I get to purple belt, but I may still be blue like I am in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, last time I trained with Scott, the sub 2 on the bill drill, that didn't happen. I wasn't even close. I was like a 247 or something like that, but
still good, still outstanding.
And the 1 second from appendix, I think I was like 110 or something. I mean, I've hit sub-second draws before, but not consistent. The 25-yard actually isn't that difficult.
Okay. So at 1.5, I guess.
Yeah, it's not that difficult. Because here at the Fed level, we took part of our testing to be a red dot instructor is his standards plus a second. So for us, it's 1 hit at 25 yards in 2 seconds. And that, like when I first did that, after doing his standards, I thought 2 seconds was slow.
Yeah.
So, and then the 3 and 2 drill, it's 3 seconds here instead of 2. And 3 seconds seems like it's all day after trying to meet his sub 2.
I'll just comment about all this discussion because this kind of encourages me to as far we just talked about earlier. What am I going to work on tomorrow? So I'm teaching our defensive pistol class this weekend, and it's been one of those weeks where it's been hard to get everything done. So I went ahead and took a couple of days off starting tomorrow and Friday, so I could make sure I'm fully squared away for the class. And I'm going to go shoot tomorrow, and I had some particular plans, but I think I'm going to add a couple of these drills to my training tomorrow and see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, his Scott standards is like 13 rounds. I mean, so it's not a high round count, and it's actually really focuses on speed and accuracy. So
yeah,
it's pretty solid.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. We may have talked about this, but I'm in his Red Dot instructor class. Man, I'm sitting there forgetting. I think it's in November.
It's in October, bro. I think.
Okay, you remember it better than me. I've got it in my calendar.
Because I know I can't go, and I was ticked off, so it sticks out.
Yeah, I'm doing that in July 2nd and 3rd, I think.
Awesome. You can give me an AAR offline. Just let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, man, I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me here in a second.
Well, man, I think we're getting towards the end of the show, Aaron. Unless you got anything else,
I agree.
think we've taken enough.
I know what I was going to say. Since we were talking about our range plans tomorrow, so tomorrow I am going to go through these standards for fun, and then So Cliff, you might remember. So I only have to wear these glasses for doing the computer and reading. I had cataract surgery, so I've got bionic vision past about 3.5 feet.
Oh, nice.
But before that, my vision was so poor for so long. I didn't focus on shooting at 25-yard bulls at all. But the other night, it was one of the first times I've had all in the black at 25 yards.
Nice.
And then I realized how much I was missing on that. Since you're going slow and accurate, you're building strength in your platform. I know you're seeing the target, but you're really your brain gets hyper focused on what you need to see. Yeah, I just encourage anybody, especially if you've got the vision to do it, man, work on that simple thing.
Yeah,
a bull at 25 yards. It opened my eyes, and I'm going to spend about half my time tomorrow at 25-yard bull.
Yeah, I mean, here in our advanced pistol stuff, we'll shoot B8 drills at 50 yards.
Nice.
So that really. It's like I had a kid today who was struggling at the 25, and as we work our way into the 3, he was like, it's like, I do really well from like the 3 to the 7. I'm like, no, you still make the same fundamental mistakes. You suck at the 3. It just gets exposed at the 25.
Very good point.
You're still doing the same fundamental flaws with your grip and trigger. It's just it doesn't get exposed until you get to the 15 and 25 because a cone of fire opens up.
I was going to say it's the cone of fault.
Yeah.
I can't think of another word. I don't want to be mean, but it's the cone of error.
Yeah.
Right?
So
yeah. I'm just going to encourage people. I know that's not tough for a lot of our audience, but man, with my new vision, I'm excited to work on that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because the 25-yard line won't lie. That's for sure.
Damn right. And it's interesting that we bring that subject up because I said this on the air not too long ago, and Cliff, you might want to slap me through the I was going to say TV. Good gosh, Heidi, man, through the video. Is that I went 5 months without firing a live round just recently because we had moved here and I haven't gotten a range home because I've been on a waiting list.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna dry fire. I'm gonna save some ammo. And I'm thinking that this membership's gonna come through, and it doesn't. Next thing I know, I was like, man, it has been 5 months. I can't do this crap.
Yeah.
So now I'm back to once a week because our normal routine was once a week. It had been for several years. And so now I'm back to, I didn't lose a whole lot because, it's our mantra on this show to dry fire, on a regular basis. But I certainly lost some.
Bro, at 5 months, you sound like a gun owner.
Yeah.
not a gun, not a shooter.
Yeah, I tell you,
I
it's
got
like
your gun owner.
It's interesting though how a daily dry fire schedule will still keep your skills pretty on par. You don't lose much if you dry fire.
Man, 20 draws or 20 press outs and trigger presses, or 5 to 10 minutes. Anywhere in that continuum, man, it's awesome. I don't know what you try to do, Cliff, but man, 5 minutes a day keep some skills and going for sure.
Yeah, it really depends what I'm focusing on. I mean, like I said, in this gig I touch guns 8 hours a day, but I still come home and throw my staccato and spend 10, 15 minutes working on something. I usually follow, awesome. The Ben Stoker's dry fire book.
That thing's awesome.
Yeah, I have
that
his
book is
little
incredible.
Miniature targets. Yeah, I got his miniature targets
same here,
up
brother.
in my garage. So, yeah. So works really well.
I can't get to mine right now. Actually, I got one hanging up right here, but
yeah, I got them all. So, but it's like what I'm. It's what I'm figuring out though. It's like I've been running a red dot since 2012, and now going back to iron sights. It's like, to me, red dot shooting actually has helped my iron sight shooting.
Man, that's encouraging.
Because your presentation is so much flatter with a dot, so you just pick up the front sight way faster as well. So,
Cliff, and Aaron, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's fine.
I'm a new dot shooter. But you just said something that that was a complete epiphany to me earlier in my dry practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because and this isn't necessarily the best method, but so I was using so I had 2 section of drills that I was working earlier for my dry fire. One, I started with the Range Master bullseye course, and I've got a scaled B8 bull that I have marked out in my bedroom to where it's equal. I've got equidistance. I know where my 25, I know where my 15, so on and so forth is. And so I shot that, or dry fired that, I should say. Yeah. And then I shot some standards that I keep up on myself, but I kept switching between my 19 with my dot and grabbing my SIRT pistol, because there's times where I know, we all of us that are knowledgeable about dry fire, we're gonna still press the dead trigger, but I still like to get that full trigger press. So I kept several times going between my SIRT pistol, and you hit it on the head, Cliff. I noticed that I was picking up my front sight much better and at a much better trajectory because of my dot work. That's a profound statement you made, because I didn't really tie it together until you said that.
Yep. So,
well, before we let you go, then, Cliff, one last question on that: how it's helped your irons shooting. Now, let me ask you this: Are you target focusing still?
Depends on the distance. Out to probably 15 yards, I'm target focused with the
rock on.
15, 25, depending on whatever the course of fire is, target focus or sight focus really depends on the level of accuracy that's needed for. So,
yeah. Now let me ask you this: did that change from the dot, or did you always shoot like that?
I've always been a target focused shooter. Like I said, like I never became like a hard front sight focused person unless it required that level of accuracy.
Yeah. So this just brings up and just a real quick point that we had a conversation with Craig Douglas about this, and he just simply brought up, he goes, maybe we've been teaching irons incorrectly by pushing people so much for that front sight focus. Maybe we should have said, okay, further out in the level of accuracy, you need maybe focus on the tip of that front sight. But man, otherwise, look right through those sights and see that target.
Yeah.
So just an interesting topic. So
yeah, I mean, your best shooters in the world are target focused shooters.
Yep.
Yeah, and I never knew that until I was talking to Scott Jadlinski, and he said, "Yeah, man, Mike and Mike Seaclander and Rob Latham and Stoger, that they're all target focused, man.
Yeah.
Why the heck didn't they teach us that, man?" Well, Eric, we've had a good time with Cliff as we knew we would, and Cliff, when you get down to Texas again, if whenever you're home. Man, let's think of a time where we can have a freaking man camp down.
Oh, freaking awesome! Yeah, it's on. We'll start looking at some dates.
I'm serious, man. Get some dates.
Yeah,
because you're flipping 4 hours away from me. That's nothing.
Awesome. Yeah, it'd be a good time. Good time.
What I would like to end with, Cliff, is to our audience members, Cliff has been a huge supporter of our show from the get-go, and we're certainly proud to call Cliff coach now, and we really appreciate your mentorship, Cliff, and we really appreciate your time, buddy.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Always humble, man, to get to
and
how guys.
Thank you, and I just didn't want to skip the opportunity. How can people get a hold of you and get down with some of these classes?
Everything's either on Instagram or Facebook. Hill Country Combatives on Instagram and a Facebook page, or you can just look me up. I'm on both platforms. So,
and as always, I'll put in the show notes for any audience member. All you have to do is swipe up, and you'll see Cliff's information. Get into one of Cliff's classes. He'll make you harder to kill. Absolutely.
Amen. Well, you guys have a great evening.
You guys too.
And we'll Cliff, get us some of those dates, man. I ain't blowing smoke, man.
That'd be awesome. Do it. Yeah, we can set something up.
Rock on.
All right, guys.
Take care, Cliff.